guys, and welcome back here to the Dev Realm, and today we're going to be carrying on our series. And what we did in the last episode, if you guys remember, is that we have created this UI here that open and close. And what we're going to be doing now is that we are going to actually add some items to this UI, and we're going to start to structure more or less what we want to build. So just to keep the idea again, what we want to do is once we click here and I press on this, I want to spawn some kind of an item that follow my mouse, and when I press click it will place the item in there, or if I press right click it will just stop the placement system. So something very basic, nothing too complicated, but I think will be something nice to do. Right, so the idea here, let me see if we have anything that we can, for example, start, maybe buildings. Yeah, so that maybe we could do something like that. The idea is that if I press play, I drag and drop something like this, and I can spawn, and then the player can walk on it. Let me see if I have buildings. I have bridges, monuments, and then I have a house. Is this a house completed? Yeah. Cool things that we have stages of a house. So we can use those to build those little stages for us. So we have this bridge, we have that, we have this, and so on and so forth. Right, cool. So what we are gonna do here is that we gonna first go back to our main game. Here to our main. We're gonna go back to our character. Actually, we're gonna. Yeah, that's fine. I'm just gonna right click and I'm gonna create another folder called buildings, let's say. Buildings. Oh. Buildings. And what we're gonna create it in here. Oh, just mistype. Buildings. There you go. Right, so we're gonna go inside this folder, and the next thing that I want to do here is that I want to create a structure for us to create all those buildings and recipes and all that stuff. So the first thing we need to do here is that we need to create here our structure to load those recipes on the UI. So we're gonna go to blueprints, we're gonna create a structure. I'm gonna call this ST, and I'm gonna call this buildings. Right, cool. Now I'm gonna open up this, and I'm gonna have here the actor that we're gonna spawn, actor, and this is gonna be the actor. Actually, this needs to be the class, and we're gonna have here let's say the icon that we're gonna use. Use a texture 2D. Nice. And what more else do we need? Let me just double check how we set up the UI. So when I do this, I have the name, I have the icon. I probably will need the resources that we're gonna need it in here. Alright, so I'm gonna need here, for example, wood, food, and stone. How much do we need, right? Okay, so those is gonna be integer, this one's gonna be integer, and this also is going to be integer. Cool. So we got all that stuff done for us, which is really good. The next thing that we are gonna do here is that we need to create the data table. So I'm just gonna right click on here. I'm gonna go to miscellaneous. I'm gonna create a data table. It's gonna ask me to select a structure. Let's add the building and press. Let's go DT buildings or recipes. Doesn't matter. Let's just leave it right here. Now the next thing that we are gonna need here is that we need to create the buildings. So I'm going to create here two. So I'm going to create here the role name is going to be a house, and I'm going to create here a bridge, right? And the actor, I don't have the actor, I don't have the icons yet. But let's say for a house, we're gonna need 10 of wood, and we're gonna need 50 of stone, and we're gonna have 20 of food. For the bridge, we're just gonna need, I don't know, 10. Just making up some values here. We can always update this as we go through. Right now, we only want to load this. Let me see if we have on the dev realm variables, textures, icons. We don't have anything that it looks like a house, so let's go to that website again, game icons, and let's search for a house, right? So we go a house, and let's search for a bridge, and we have a bridge. Nice. Now I'm just gonna import those icons. T dash and T dash. Nice. Bring it here. Let's put it right there. Okay, we can save that stuff. Save it all. Nice. Now for the house, we're gonna bring the house, and for the bridge, I'm just gonna bring this one here. We don't have the actor yet, so we're just gonna leave it as is. I don't know how we're gonna build this yet, but I'm sure we're gonna come up with something. But alright, cool. Now we have this, we have those items. Now we need to basically load that information on our widget, right? So to do this, I'm gonna close everything here. I'm gonna go back to content, main. By the way, one cool thing that we can do here that I always forget to do is, for example, I can right click on this and I can set to favorites. So the next time you want to go to the player folder, you just click on this one. I know this is a feature that I always use in other places, but I always forget to do this in tutorials. It's quite useful. And by the way, if you lost your content, you don't have your content drawer, just go over to the window here, content, and just click on this. And it show up on my other screen. I'm just gonna reattach it to the bottom, and there you go. So pretty much that's how you do it. But all right, so we're gonna go back to our player UI, and the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to UI, and in here I'm gonna right click, and I'm gonna create here a building resource list. All right, I'm gonna right click. I'm gonna create WBP building resource, right? And we have that, which is great. And let's search for the WBP list. Let's bring this one right here. Let me just edit this. I want to check. Yeah, this is a button, which is great. The good thing that this is a button, so we can use events on this. One thing that I'm gonna do here is, so we have the quantity and the icon. I am gonna add, let me think. Well, we can do this using the logic. So the idea is that we're gonna do this automatic, and we're gonna, okay, it's fine. Don't worry about it. This will work just fine. So anyway, let's make sure this is desired size that you want on screen, right? And we have the item. Everything's great, cool, nice. Now we are gonna go back to our UI, and we're gonna open up the main player UI. Open up this and expand it. Now I'm gonna delete all this stuff, I don't need it, but I'm gonna compile and save, and let's start with the logic. So the first thing I want to do is that I want to go back to my main graph here, and here's where we have the show and hide the, so show and hide the building resource. So it's very useful stuff, show and hide the building resource. And the next thing that I want to do here is that I need to load all those options into my list. So to do this, we're gonna get data table, I think it's role names, and here it's gonna ask us to select the table, and we're gonna select the DT buildings, right? We're gonna drag and drop this one right there. Cool. Now the next thing we're gonna do is that we're gonna do a for each loop. And the next thing that we're gonna do here is that we're gonna get a data table or get row handle, this one here, get data table row. I always forget the name, but this is the one we want to use. And we also need to select the DT buildings and make sure you put this one right there. If you guys notice, we kind of already did this in the past, but right now we need to do for all the resources as we load this. And one cool trick that I can show you here is that we can wrap this into a function, and we can just call fn load building resources. Nice. Now we're gonna go back in here, and now what we're gonna do here is that we are gonna create a widget, and this widget is gonna be the WBP building resource, and we need to add him to the vertical box in here. So let's just add building resource box. Let's just change the name of this just to make sure that we know what it means. We're gonna drag and drop here. We're gonna put this inside resources, and we're gonna add a child. And do like that, like this. One thing that we can do as well is that we can set a padding. Let's make a padding, a margin, sorry. And let's say from the bottom, we're gonna add 10. Otherwise, it looks a little bit weird. Alright, let's press play. Now, we should have only 2. Look at that. Just those 2, and we have everything that we needed right here, which is really good. One thing that I realized is that yeah, that's fine. Don't worry. I was gonna say, like, we can't bind an event in here, but we can create a function that binds the event for us. So that's fine. Anyway, now let's focus on the layout of this. So what the thing that we need here is that we need to pass the info, right? And the info here is gonna be called st buildings in this case. Make sure it's public and you expose to spawn. Compile and save. Now back to the player, all you gotta do is a right click and you press refresh, and you drag the node right here. Compile and save. Now on the building resource, on the event construct, which means that once the item is ready to, the UI is ready to receive events and stuff, we're gonna get the list, bring the list here, and we're gonna set the API set the icon, which is what we want, and we're gonna break this. And now what we're looking for is the API set the name, right? And the name, well, we don't have a name, but I think get row. Actually, that's a good point. We forgot to add the name on this. Let's just go back to add buildings, open up this, and let's add the name. And I'm just gonna drag this one right here and make sure it's a string. Save, compile and save, compile and save. Now on the buildings, we're just gonna add a house and a bridge. And we're gonna save that. Cool. Now back to the resource. We got the name. Let's plug the name right here. I don't want to update the color, and I don't want to update, so it's fine. We don't care about those right now. But now we have a problem. Is that we have the wood, the food, and the stone. We need to come up with a way to kind of load this in the right place. So what I'm going to do here is that first I'm going to create that UI for this, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a new widget called WBP resource count, right? And I'm gonna open up this resource, and I'm gonna, on the graph here, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a variable saying the type of the resource. And if you guys remember, we have the resources type, right? You can compile and save this. And now let's focus on the UI. So for the UI for this, I'm gonna add a horizontal box, and in here we're gonna search for WBP icon, icon, input with icon, slot icon. There you go, that's the one we're looking for. Make sure you set this to design on screen so it doesn't look too weird. And actually, yeah, actually this, it's perfect. I'm just thinking that, do we need to create, yeah, okay, we're gonna leave as this. Cool, that's fine. So we can just wrap and replace with child here. Let's just use the icon. There you go. Now the next thing that we're gonna do here is that this is exposed on spawn, which is great. Make sure it's exposed on spawn. And we're gonna just do something very simple. Switch case on the resource types, right? And all we're gonna do is that actually API set value, which is the icon, we're gonna do in a better way. We're gonna do a select, plug this guy right there. And now once we start this, we just need to find the wood and the resource and all that stuff, the icon. So let's go back to the dev realm, to the textures, icons. I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna add this to my favorite because I keep coming back to this folder. Right, now what we need here is that, let me just remember which icons that we're using. So the ball, that, and that. Alright, cool. So if we are having to keep the rock, we need to put the stone. Now if is the, let's put the cube for a building. That's never gonna happen, but we can leave it right there. Let's see, the stone, the bridge, the bowl. Let's use this one for that. And the resource for wood, we can use that. That's it. But there we go. So the way that we created the resources on this game is quite is not optimal because we keep creating new ways of doing this. The ideal way of doing that would be creating our resources inside the data table and then looping through them. But because we're very far inside the project, I am gonna just keep doing this way, where we have everything based on the type, and whatever the type, we define what icon it has and all this stuff. But in a real game, to make stuff let's say simpler, you would like to create a type data table which would have the name, the icon, the color, and all sorts of stuff. Maybe I'll create a series in the future about that, but for now let's just keep this one simple like this right now. Cool. Now if I go back to the designer, and if I go back to, this won't change actually. Let's make sure this is on the pre-construct, because in the pre-construct is like on the constructed script for the blueprint. So if I compile and save, as you can see, I already have that stuff changing for me, which is really good. Now let's go back to this. Let's go to the graph, right? And what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna create, actually I need to do something first. I'm gonna edit this blueprint, and remember that we have this quantity icon. We want to make sure we delete everything inside this so we can add our stuff on this. So what we're gonna do is on here we're gonna get the WBP item, and we're gonna get this, get quantity, let me just double check if this is Yeah, it must be a variable. Sorry, I forgot about this. Quantity and item must be a variable. So now on here you can get that. I'm gonna clear the children and let's see what happens. Let's see how does it look first. Doesn't look too bad, which is good. Now what we need to do now is to add how much wood and how much resources does it cost for us. So I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna go back in here. I'm gonna create a widget. And the widget here is going to be let me just go back to this resource count, put it right there. Actually, since we're creating this resource count, and what we can even do here is on the begin play here, we get the icon and we're gonna API set the quantity, set value, API hide quantity. Wait, maybe I don't have quantity. Okay. So let me go back to this. I'm just gonna get the quantity and I'm gonna call the API set value, plug this one right here, and that's it. Nice. So now that we have this stuff right here, we're gonna create this as a variable and we're gonna say the quantity, and this is gonna be public, and make sure expose on spawn. Now here, if I refresh that, I have that information right here, so I can put wood and I can change this to the wood resource. I'm gonna also do that for food, and whoa, let's put it right here, and I'm gonna create this one here for stone, and that should be everything that we need. Now there's one more thing. If you guys press play, you're probably gonna notice that this is still not working. This is because we need to tell where we want to add this. Remember the thing that we remove it from here? We just need to basically add a child. And let me see, can I add multiple values to this? I can't. Okay, that's fine. So we're gonna add first that one. Then after, we're gonna add this. And we're gonna add that. Now if you did everything right, hopefully we should have the resources, which we do. Look at this. It's quite hard to read at the moment, but I think what we could do is that we could increase. Let me check on the slot icon. Font size. I can change the font size. I'm gonna put this to 20. Pause and save. Let's see if it looks too bad. Looks alright. Doesn't look too bad. Now let's just add some padding to this. So in here, this starts to get very messy, but I'm just gonna leave it right there for now. What I'm gonna do here is, can I set the padding? No, I can't set the padding of that, so I'm gonna have to do on here. Well, actually, let's just make it, let's make it a little bit more simple than this. On the resource count here, let's wrap this with a horizontal box. Yeah, can we add some padding to the left? So let's add 10. And that's it. Problem solved. We got some padding there. Nice. Alright, so we have a very simple UI here for now. So we have this stuff hanging out, which is really good. So now we need to create the logic where if we click on this, it will send an event to our play controller, and then we can actually place a building. But what we're going to be doing in the next episodes that we're going to be creating a building resource that we can interact like this, but it will build the house for us as we keep doing that. So once again guys, thank you very much for watching, and I see you in the next one.